my God, it has been 2 years full-time in real estate. So on the 31st of October, I was celebrating 2 years full-time in real estate. So what do I mean 2 years full-time? It means that I don't do anything else. I only sell property. So property is the one that pays for everything, from the trips that I take, to the clothes that I wear, to the food that I eat. Property funds my lifestyle. I make money from selling real estate. That's what it means, right? That's what it means. And for the past 2 years, a lot has happened. I have met the most amazing people, and I have met the worst people, and at the same time I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've hurt other people and other people have hurt me. It's been a yin-yang journey, because in real estate you are dealing with people, so it is going to be a yin-yang. You're going to make other people cry, other people are going to make you cry, other people are going to feel like you are the most amazing person ever, and other people will feel like you are the worst person they've ever met. And all of those experiences are okay, and that is what I've learned in the past 2 years. And today I am looking at the first deal that I did, the first ever house that I sold. Oh my God, that house changed me. That transaction changed me. You know, in real estate, other transactions, they stay with you forever. Others, when they say other situations in life, they change you. That is what the first deal that I ever sold in my life in real estate, the first ever paycheck I made, I think I made 25,000 there, yes, because my brokerage took took some of the money and all of that. So I made like 25,000 from my first deal ever. And guys, oh my God, that deal, it broke me. I remember crying in the client's car at 8 o'clock in the evening. Guys, I was crying in my client's car, you know. So let's get into how I sold that house and what happened. So I feel like with that house, it was a divine intervention. I feel like I was led by God to go to that house, and everything that happened, even though it did change me, and it really did impact me, because I'm not sure if it impacted me in a positive way or in a negative way. That is for you to judge. But I'm going to be transparent, I'm going to be truthful. So basically, it changed me in a way that for the 2 years, it was difficult for me to greet the sellers. I think in the 2 years, I even prayed to God to never ever see those people ever again in my life. But I don't know, I think God just tests me, and I will see them once in a while, because we stay in the same town, right? I will see them maybe once or 2 times a year. So when I first saw them after the transaction, I couldn't greet them. I couldn't greet them. I couldn't greet them. I wanted to, but even the greeting words could not come out of my mouth when I first saw them. That's how much the scar of what happened stayed in my heart. Number 2, I also met them this year, which was the second year in real estate, right? And when I met them this year, I did greet them. I just said hello, and they responded, and I did not know what to say after that. And I said, after leaving them, like at an internet cafe, and after leaving that internet cafe, something in my heart was like, oh wow, I was able to greet them today, you know. So that's how much it changed me, guys. That's how much it changed me. I never thought of myself as someone who does not, forgive. You know, I never thought of myself as someone like that. But real estate, as I said in the beginning of this video, real estate will show you who you really are. You will meet yourself. It will, and some of the parts you need to heal them. Some of the parts you need help. Sometimes you will have to go to therapy. Sometimes you will have to speak to people that you trust about how you feel and how the situation has made you feel. Real estate will reveal you to you, and that's what makes this business so amazing. Yeah, so basically, how did the first transaction go like, and what made us to be in a position where we cannot even greet each other? Because yeah, what got us there, like sifike njani lapho, right? Okay, basically, so how I got to the house. So that's the first thing. So I started real estate, obviously, and there was this house. I didn't know about it really. So basically what happened, I was driving with my brother and we were going to my stylist's house in Zamdela. So we were going to my stylist's house and my brother took a wrong turn. So my brother took a wrong turn. Instead of them turning left, instead of them turning left, so they turned right. So basically, then we ended up being in the street and they were doing a U-turn. While they were doing the U-turn, I decided, let me just speak to this other lady that was standing at the gates. And because I was new in real estate and you get sales by talking to people, so everyone needs to know that you are selling real estate so that they can be able to use your services. So people need to know about you. They need to know what you are doing. So that is basically what I did. I went outside. While he was doing the U-turn, I left the car and I was like, let me go and speak to this lady that is standing outside her house. And I went to there and I spoke to the lady and I was like, hi, Unjani, I'm good, and I was like, I'm Tandega and I sell property, and do you know any properties that are for sale in your area? And she was like, huh? And I was like, do you know any properties that are for sale in your area? And I was like, and they were like, oh yeah, I actually do know a house that is for sale in this area. And I was like, really? And they were like, let me take you there. Oh my God, that woman, when I sent her a gift, I was so happy to do that because she was one of the first people that got me my first sale. Then I went to the house with her, and then she introduced me to the seller, and the seller's daughter was there. The seller was not there, and the daughter was like, no, we no longer want to work with agents. I was new into real estate. I didn't know that there's people that do not like working with agents. I was like, why? I'm such an amazing person. Why would you not want to work with me? I'm such a good person. Whatever. And she was like, no agents. This house has been in the market for over a year, and all they came to do was take pictures, and we'll never hear from them again. And no, we don't want to work with agents. We are going to sell this house on our own. And I kept on, obviously. Then I started asking questions. Okay, I'm so sorry to hear what happened. Trying to get to her pain, why she is so hurt about this, right? And then we talked about it, and then she told me, Guti, we are actually now, in a very difficult position financially. And because of, we bought another house and now we are paying for 2 houses, and it's just so difficult for us and all of that, right? And I was like, I am here to help you. And they were like, you can sell it, but yeah, you can sell it, but I'm not going to allow you to come to the house and take pictures or something like that. Imagine your first ever deal and you do not even know the house. How do you sell something that you do not know? How do you sell something that you do not know? And guys, oh my God, I was able to sell it. I still don't believe how I was able to sell it, right? Then after that, fine, I took her numbers and I was like, okay, can I have your numbers? And then I will get you a client and all of that. Then she gave me her numbers and then I left, right? And then I thank the lady that took me there, and I went back to my brother and we did the U-turn and we went to my stylist home shop. Then after that, I think a month or 2 months after that, my stylist, I wanted someone to do my nails. The lady that did my nails was not available. She was pregnant. She had now just had a new baby and she was currently in maternity leave, so she was not taking any clients. And I was looking for someone, because I'm such a loyal person, so I always use the same people for my hair, my nails, and things like that. So I was looking for someone that would do my nails. And my stylist was like, oh no, I know this other girl. I think she's good. I do my nails with her. Let's go to her salon. And I went to her salon and I took her numbers, and she was busy that day. And we just kept on postponing, because if she's not busy, I'm not available, because I was working full time at that time. I'm not available, I'm at work and things like that. So we just could not get to doing my nails. But the day when I got to do my nails, guys, oh my God. You know, when I started real estate, one thing that I promised myself was, I am going to change the way I introduce myself. And I've kept that. Whenever I introduce myself, I say, I am Thandeka Sibanyoni and I sell real estate. That is the second thing. I'm Thandeka, I love my surname. I would never say I'm Thandeka, I sell real estate. I would say I'm Thandeka Sibanyoni, I sell real estate. That is how I say it. And I feel like this goes back, so back, because one of the grandmothers around my neighborhood where I come from Mpumalanga, she used to say that, Thandeka Momncane, you would always introduce yourself and say, mina ngingithandeka Sibanyoni, ngingithandeka waseGalina. I feel like now that I'm older and I'm saying I am Thandeka Sibanyoni and I sell real estate, it is something that I used to do when I was a child. Like they said, when I was young, that is how I used to introduce myself to people. I'm Thandeka Sibanyoni and waseGalina. That's what I used to say. And now that I'm older and I'm like, I'm Thandeka Sibanyoni and I am a real estate agent. So the second thing that I did was like, I want to introduce myself as Thandeka Sibanyoni and what I do, which is sell property. Whenever I would enter a salon, that is the first thing I would say. Whenever I was in a shop, that is how I would introduce myself to people. Whenever I would meet new people, you know, that is how I would introduce myself. Yes, and I still do it 2 years later. So when I went to the salon to do my nails, right? I figure salon and I am there to do my nails, and I get this amazing 2 beautiful women, and one of them is doing the nails and the other one is the nail tech. And I come in and I sit down and I introduce myself. Obviously I greet and I introduce myself like, hi girl, I introduce myself to the client, right? To the nail tech client. Hi, I'm Thandeka and I sell real estate in Tingsizil, you know. And then this lady like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I'm actually looking for a house. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, where? And then I show her a house that I had pictures of, but it was beyond her budget. It was like a 900,000. And she was like, no, that is too much. I don't want to buy that expensive house. And I was like, oh my God, there's another house. Then I remembered the house that they did not want me to take pictures. And I was like, oh my God, there's another house. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, there's another house, but I don't have pictures. But let me find out if we can go to that house. Oh my Jesus. And she was like, okay, I'm almost done with my nails. Maybe we can just go there. And I was like, to the nail tech, girl, I am going to sell this house. I'm no longer doing my nails. Thank you. We'll see you another time. And after that, I called the seller. I was like, hi. It was a Sunday. Hi, are you guys home? Yes, there is a client that would like to see your house. And they were like, oh, okay, come through. They were in a very good mood that day. They were like, okay, come through. And I was like, okay, we are coming now. And we went there and we saw the property. It was also the first time I entered the property. Remember, they did not allow me to go to the property or even take pictures. Remember that. So then it was also my first time also seeing that property. I went there and I saw the property. It was beautiful. It was a 3-bedroom house, 2 bathrooms, and it was a beautiful property. And the client loved the property on the spot. Sharp. And then they did not sign, obviously, but they loved it. And then I think after 2 weeks, they called me back and they were like, "Hi girl, I've decided to go back to the property again. Can you please make an appointment for me to actually come and see the property now again, because I feel like it was just so rushed the day when we saw it. Can I see it now?" Then I was like, okay, no problem. Then I set another appointment. They went to the property. We saw the property again and they signed the deal. That was how I made that's how I closed my first deal. Like the way this deal was done, the way I got the house from my brother taking a wrong turn and getting this lady standing outside her gate, and me having the confidence to ask her, "Do you know anyone that is selling in your area?" Oh my God, that would always be a very a secret thing. It will always have a special spot in my heart, because it just means that there is no wrong turns in life. Some turns, they lead you to something beautiful. Some turns, they lead you to your first deal, right? So my brother taking the wrong turn, it actually led me to my first client in real estate. And that's why whenever I make mistakes and whenever I get hurt or I hurt other people or anything like that happens in the transactions, I always remind myself and that even when everything happened and everything ended up not ending in a good note, which is what I mentioned earlier when I started the conversation, that me and the sellers, it has been so difficult for us to even greet each other after the transaction, right? Even that, but because of how the house was sold, I always say God was in it, and God, He knew what was going to happen. Few months down the line, God knew what was going to happen 3 months down the line, and He knew how this will reveal to me or the lessons that I had to learn from this transaction, right? And also maybe what they also had to learn from the transaction, right? Yes. So which is why, even though I've not gotten to a point where maybe I'm fully I would have a conversation with them and I would be happy to see them, or I would do another deal with them, I would sell their another house or something like that, even though I'm not in a position to do that. But I truly believe it was still God needed to work maybe something in me. He needed to show me with maybe Tandega, you need to see the side of you that is maybe unforgiving, because I always thought that I am a very forgiving person. I'm such an understanding person. When people stab me in the back and they can stab me and I'll be like, oh, the knife, oh my God, that knife is so cute. I always thought I was that person until now that I'm in real estate, and that deal always reminds me of the activity. It is okay sometimes to take time to forgive people. I do not villainize how they hurt me, because I was hurt, my client was hurt, we were both hurt. So let's talk about the transaction then. What happened? Why we were so hurt? Why we were bleeding? Why is it so difficult for us to meet and not hug each other and be like, oh my God, you are my first client, oh my God, I sold your home, and why are we not like that with the sellers? But I'm like that with the buyer, because we have been in relationship since then, right? So guys, yes. So what happened is, so the seller, when I sold the property, she was actually building her own property. She had land that she bought, and she was building a property, and which is why she was selling this one. So she had money to build from scratch, and until the roof. She did not have money for the roof, and she needed to sell this property in order for her to be able to finish the project of finishing the house that she was going to stay in, right? And that's why she was selling that house. And obviously she was frustrated, she did not have the money, the house was not selling, and all of that, right? And fine, we sold the house. So when we sold the house, they needed the money to go and finish the house like the other house. There were options that they had, and we did share the options with them. There is companies like bridging companies that do borrow sellers money in order for them to finish homes that they are building, in order for them to renovate the houses that they're going in. So we did, the lawyer that was doing the transaction did share that information with you. You've got options. We can borrow money for your roofing, but they said no, because they were like, no, we don't want to buy, we do not want to pay interest. Okay, and then they were like, okay, what we can do, we can ask the buyer to actually allow us to stay in the property after the registration. And for me, I feel like the biggest mistake that I made in that agreement, because that was an agreement, right? It was an agreement between the buyer, me, and the seller, right? But the person that we did not involve in the agreement of them staying in the property longer after registration was the lawyer. We did not involve the lawyer. So that is the first mistake that I made. So what I should have done, now that I am more experienced, what I should have done, they should have spoken to me, no, we are asking for 2 weeks after, or a month after the registration, to stay in their house. And what should have been done, we should have calculated how much that will cost. What does it mean? We should have charged them occupational rent and charged them rates and taxes, right? And then the lawyer kept that money in the trust account, and that money would have been paid to the buyer, right? But I was new, and I trusted people. I never thought people would I always thought with mas vumelana, I always thought people keep their words, because I keep my word, right? So I had this thing with abantu, no, why would lo mama senza so, why would she go like over her weight? Why would she say she's going to pay her and not pay? You understand? I did not see that happening. I trusted her because they were my clients. I loved them, and it was amazing, and it was beautiful, and we trusted each other. So that was the mistake that I made as the agent, right? I went there trusting people with everything. We didn't write anything down. That is the second mistake. We didn't involve the lawyer. That was the first mistake. The second mistake was that we did not write anything down. It was just a verbal agreement between us, between me, the seller, and the buyer. It was just a verbal agreement, right? Sharp. And then the house registered, the money was paid out to the seller, because the seller did not owe the property. She did not owe anything in the property, so they had the title deed, everything. So the money was paid out to the seller in full. And then the last thing that happened, they stayed in the property. So I remember when we were now talking about them paying, now that they got the money. So I was like to them, since you are planning to, I called them and I was like, since you are planning to stay in the property longer, can you please pay up front, right? Like, please pay up front. And they were like, no, we are not going to pay. That is why I ended up crying in my buyer's car. Oh my God. I was like, what do you mean you're not going to pay? Then we had a meeting, we talked about it. So, and the seller, I feel like in a way the seller was willing to pay, but people around her made her not to pay. When we were in the meeting and we were explaining to her why she should pay, because she felt like it's my house. She still felt that entitlement in like over the house, but it's my house. Why should I be paying in my house? What about those kind of that kind of entitlement over the house, because it's been her house for the past 20 years, and now we are asking her to pay occupational rent in her own house. So in her mind it was not clicking. So I remember us having a late meeting. It was on a Sunday and it was an evening meeting. We were wearing our gowns, everyone was on their gowns. We met there, the buyer came to fetch me, and we went with one car to the seller's place, to the seller's property, and we had the meeting. And when we had the meeting and we explained to her why she should be paying the occupational rent, why it is unfair for her not to pay, because now the property was no longer in her name. She understood, like, we left that house, we were friends, we were all on the same page, we were happy. She understood why she needs to pay for, because she was going to stay for a month. She understood why she needed to pay the rent and taxes and the water for that month, because she was the one that's using the water, and the house was no longer in the buyer's name. She understood that, and she understood why she needed to pay the occupational rent, which was 1% of the purchase price, right? So she understood that, right? Oh my God, we left that house happy people, and I was so happy that, oh my God, we are on the same page. Oh my God, we are so happy. I remember, because I remember her even saying to me, guys, because Aneti, obviously, when she started not wanting to pay, not like feeling like she's entitled to the house, we started having difficult conversation, and we started having that fight between me and I, because I was like, how dare you not want to pay? This house is no longer your house, and all of that, trying to reason with him. And I remember her even saying, when I came to the house, she was like, I don't want to speak to the agent, I want to speak to the owner of the house. Guys, she was like, I don't want to speak to you, the agent, I want to speak to the owner of the house. And I remember the buyer saying, she was like, I need to leave, I need to not be in the room, and things like that. I remember my buyer saying, which is why that woman will always be have a special place in my heart. I love her so much, and she loves me so much. I remember that lady saying, if it was not, no, the agent is staying. I remember her fighting for me, because it was my first deal, guys. I was not even confident to even stand and say, no, I'm staying because of this, and this. You understand? I'm staying because it's my job. I'm staying because I'm the agent, and this transaction happened because of me. I could not even say that. I just kept quiet and natula, like I said nothing. And I remember the buyer saying, the agent is staying because if it was not for her, I will not know your house, that you are selling your house. The agent is staying because this transaction is happening because of her. So she is the one that is also involved in this transaction. Yes, the deal may be between me and you, but she is the catalyst in this transaction, right? I remember the buyer saying that, and to me, that was one of the things that touched my heart. It showed me, like, this, she is a very amazing woman. She is absolutely a beautiful, matured woman, like how emotionally matured she is. She always surprises me, and the way she even handled that situation. I remember in that meeting, I did not say anything. I did not say anything. I couldn't even speak because I was so hurt. I was so hurt with it. How this woman, the way when me and her were speaking about her staying for longer in this property, and her saying to me, she is going to pay, and all of that, the way she, like, what made her change, I felt like she switched up on me, right? And now I did not have this thing in writing. I did not involve the lawyer. She had all her money, and all her money was paid out to her, and I just did not know what to do. And now she was staying longer and not willing to pay in a house that does no longer belong to her. Oh my God. And the way she was treating me, like, it was just so bad. She was no longer answering my calls. She was so rude to me. She was like, don't want to speak to you. You're not even the owner of the house. What are you saying? Like, how dare you, and all of that. And that really made me hurt. That really hurt me so much. Oh my God. Yeah. And and also what also hurt me a lot was that I ended up, even though I did not end up paying the full amount, because the buyer was like, no, don't pay anything, don't pay anything, don't pay anything. I ended up paying for their occupation because they didn't pay anything, guys. They did not pay anything. They did not pay, and I ended up paying for it. I ended up sending the buyer half of the money because the buyer would not allow me to pay. She was like, no, it's fine, it's okay, things like this happen, whatever. But in my heart, I really felt like it was unfair. And I took some of the money from my commission and I paid for the occupation, and I paid I paid an amount, even though it was not the full amount because I did not have the full amount. I just said to the buyer, I sent her money because obviously I did have her things, I sent a bank statement because I helped her with applying with the loan, and I sent her the money, and she was like, hi Bo, and I said to her, why? She was like, but I told you not to pay, and I was like, my conscience would not allow me not to pay, even though it is not the full amount. I want you to know how sorry I am for making you lose money, because the victim in all of that, the person that lost money, the person that lost money, that was stressed, that just was affected a lot. It was her more than me, right? It affected her emotionally, it affected her financially, and yeah, which is why I paid her, right, some of the money. And yes. And another thing which made me to feel like, which made me to not be able to forgive them that easily, which made me to be so hurt, to be so hurt, was the day when they left the property. Oh my God. Number one, when what they did, they removed all the rails. I feel like if it were Yangabo, they would have removed even the doors and what is this thing, the butlers and things like that. They removed all the rails. They removed, guys, they removed the rails, and right? Sharp, okay, but that was not the agreement. They were gonna leave the rails behind. That was what we signed for in the OTP, but it's fine. And then another thing which hurt me the most, the day when they left, when they were supposed to give me the key, what they did, Kabanga, we had to hear from someone else, Uguti, the key is somewhere in my buyer's yard. So what they did, so they, it's basically people that know each other because they are from the same community, right? And they go, I think they also went to the same church and things like that. So when they were supposed to give us the key, the day when they left, they were supposed obviously to call me and say, Tandeka, we have left, we've taken everything, come and get the key, or if they don't want me because they hated me now, I was now the bad person, they should have called the buyer and say, hi, please come and take your keys, we are leaving today. No, they did not do that. You know what they did? They went to the buyer's home, her home, Kaigibo, her grandmother's house, and they threw the key a jardin. The key would have went on top of the roof. The key would have went on top of the carport. The key would have been lost. You understand? But they just did that. Instead of them knocking and going inside and saying, hi, Nasis Kia, Saga girl, this is her keys, Siyabonga, bye-bye. Not even saying a lot, right? Not even saying a lot, but just going inside and just putting the key on the table. They didn't do that. They just threw the key on the yard. Guys, that one, when my, like, and then after that, someone in the neighborhood saw them when they are moving out, and then they, because as I told you, they are from all in the same community, they called my buyer and they're like, your house is empty. And my buyer was like, what do you mean my house is empty? Because the people that own the house are still staying there. And then it was like, no, they left like yesterday. And my buyer was like, oh, okay. And then she calls me, hi, Mdasa, do you have the keys for the house? Because the house is it's empty. And I went to check, the house is really empty. One of their neighbors called me telling me that the house is empty and the people have left. And I was like, no, I don't have the keys. We're trying to call them, they are not answering our calls. Guys, we don't know where the key is. We don't know what is happening. I remember I even went to their new house to look for them, to come, to try and go and get that key. Yeah. And I didn't even know their new house, but I knew the area where they built, and I just knew the details of their house, you know? And then I went there to look for them, and I started asking neighbors, and then the neighbors showed me, oh, maybe we think this is the house. And then I went there, and I knocked, and they were not there. Called them, they are not there. And guys, someone that knows my buyer, like a family friend, and that goes to the same church as the sellers, asked them, you know, and we're like, hi, Kia, that house that you were staying into of the previous house. And then they told them, no, sis, that is how we found the key. Now the buyer started looking around the yard for the key, and then they found the key. That is how we found the key. Guys, I was beyond heads. I was beyond heads. I was really, really beyond heads, which is why it has taken me a lot, which is why it has taken me so much to, it has taken me so much to, when I see them, to not be triggered. When I see them, to not feel the anger that I felt, the hate that I felt, you understand? Which has taken me a lot to be able to greet them when I see them, because before I just could not greet. I could not greet. And yeah, and that was how my first deal went. Oh my God, it is the first time ever telling the story and not crying, because it really did, even though maybe someone else will say it's really not that deep, but for me it was deep. Guys, number one, it was my first ever sale. Number two, I was new in real estate. They made me question so much. And, you know, from then I learned, number one, to always get the lawyers involved in everything, to always get the lawyers involved in anything, in everything. Number two, I've learned to always have things written. Let's not have verbal discussions. Let everything be written down. And number three, I've learned to stand up for myself as the agent. Because at the end of the day, the transaction is happening because of me. The transaction is happening because of me. And people sometimes feel ungrateful because they were like, you know, people feel like, oh, you are charging me so much money, and then they get triggered and they get angry because of that. And they will start, you know, resenting you for that. and you as the agent, because you understand the value that you gave to them and why you should be paid and why you should be respected and why you are important in that deal and why you should be in the room whenever everything is discussed. Yes, I learned that, and that was how my first transaction happened. And please subscribe for more lessons, tips, mistakes, excitement, milestone in real estate and also in sales. I am Tanya Aswanyoni and I am your real estate agent, and this is Selling the Val with Tanya Aswanyoni, and also this is my journey in real estate, how my first deal went like. Have a beautiful and amazing day, and subscribe, and make sure that you subscribe and tell others that are interested in real estate and people that have started real estate, selling real estate. Maybe they will learn one or two things from my journey. Have a beautiful and amazing day.